Welcome. Today I will be paraphrasing, summarizing, and sharing for the June 15th Al-Anon readings in Courage to Change and a Little Time for Myself. We'll begin with the Serenity Prayer and 3 mindful breaths. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. I will take a moment and look this over. The question is, what is my primary spiritual aim today? And this passage begins with a man explaining how his primary purpose changed once he came to Al-Anon. He mentions Tradition 6 that talks about not letting outside issues divert us from our primary spiritual aim. He realized that his idea of masculinity no longer worked for him, and Tradition 6 helped him to think about having a different spiritual goal. He determined that his spiritual purpose was to serve his higher power, be vulnerable, and having emotions and expressing his emotions in a healthy way. Today's reminder, when we're feeling stuck in our lives, it may be time to make changes. Our higher power can help us to identify a spiritual aim that allows us to grow. And the quote is from Reaching for Personal Freedom. We focus on what's really important when we focus on our primary purpose. So what is my primary spiritual aim today? Well, my primary spiritual aim is probably to do my higher power's will, to carry through what my higher power wants me to do. I think a lot of that always includes connecting with people in a loving and compassionate way. Yeah, I mean, maintaining a connection with my higher power. That's the ultimate spiritual aim. I can't think of anything else. But I think that's pretty good. I mean, does it get any better than that? I don't know. Okay, moving on. I have pages that are stuck together. Well, I'll deal with that later. July 4th and 5th are stuck together. I've never seen that before. That may be from when I had to reglue my book binding back together because I dropped my book and it just completely fell into pieces. All right, I'm going to read the passage. Mm. All right, this is about not using harsh language with ourselves or others. It's really focusing on others in this particular case. So it says sometimes when we're angry or frustrated, if we feel like we're being attacked, we feel helpless. What we can do is we can call an Al-Anon friend, go to a meeting, talk to our sponsor. Then we're better able to communicate in a way that we can feel good about, instead of saying things that are hurtful. Today's reminder, many of us carry a lot of shame, but it just makes it worse to be cruel or to use cruel words, because that really does bring shame on us when we speak cruelly to others. The quote is from Living with Sobriety. We all deserve and need extra loving care. Beautiful. For the most part, I can do this pretty well. I'm not one to really call people names because it makes me feel bad. I get like no joy out of it. Every now and then something will slip out when this is going to sound crazy. And I don't mean anything, I'm not making any kind of like political statement, because I don't really know enough to make any, like, I'm not claiming to know what's right or wrong. Let's put it that way. I just pray for all of us that we'll all be okay, and that's it. But I do notice that every now and then I will say to my dad something not cruel about him, but cruel about a very well-known politician, and then I instantly apologize because I feel bad that I said it. But for some reason, it's happened a couple of times, and then I apologize right away. And like I said, I'm not saying anything bad to anybody directly about anybody. I'm saying it to someone about someone else who I don't even know as a person. But other than that, I think that, and I think the reason why that happens is because my father feels a little bit differently than I do about that particular person, that particular situation. I know I'm being very cryptic. I'm doing that on purpose because I don't want to bring attention to something that I'm not trying to bring, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to bring attention to a situation that already has its own life. Not at all. I'm trying to bring attention to my actions and trying to figure out like what brings it on. Probably a feeling of helplessness and lack of control. And knowing that, you know, my dad feels a little differently than I do, which is funny because when we really talk, like, we really don't feel that differently. But when it comes to this specific person, we both have very different ideas. And then it just like slips out of my mouth. And then I always say, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't know why I said that. Like, that was unnecessary. It's pretty crazy. Because I can tell you that truly in every other situation, there is nothing that makes me feel good about saying anything negative about anybody. It makes me feel worse. And I don't want to feel worse. I want to feel better. So I try, if I have nothing positive to say, I try to say nothing, or I try to say, like, one of my favorite lines, which I'm sure can be very irritating to hear repeatedly, is they're doing their best. They're doing their best. They're doing their best. They deserve their higher power's love just like anybody else. We're all worthy. We're all equal. we're all deserving of love. And I love the quote from Living with Sobriety. We all deserve and need extra loving care. It's so true. It's so true. And I'd love to do an experiment where everyone was just kind to each other, even for a short amount of time. I don't know how long. I was thinking like an hour, or I don't know. Like if everyone in the world was, and I know like this is impossible to execute, but if everyone was just kind and loving to everyone for a short amount of time, I would love to see what happened. Like if all hateful things just stopped. I know that's complete pie in the sky, but anyway. We'll close out with the serenity prayer and 3 mindful breaths. Here we go. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Sending you love. Take care.